Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today I'm answering a question that I get all the time, which is, what do you do with your gel prints once you make them? Well, I use them in my play, and I'm going to share with you one of the ways that I use them with stencils here in this video. And the stencils I'm going to be using, I am super excited to be sharing with you because I am honored to be this month's Stencil Club guest designer for over at StencilGirl Products. Now, these stencils, there are two of them that come in the set, the Art House collection, and you get the words as well as the houses and each of the masks that go with each of the houses. And yes, I will explain to you why I chose to create these this way, why I chose those words to go with the houses, all that for you here within the video. Now, before we get started, because we're going to be using our gel prints for these, just grab some gel prints that you've got. They could be your favorite ones or ones you don't like, because what we're going to be doing is just isolating parts of it using the word stencil. I'm just going to be stenciling one word on here. So that means I can pick and choose where on this I want to put the word. And I'm really looking for the color combination that's calling to me. And the blue up there with a little bit of the green is really jumping out at me. So that's where I'm going to position the word that I want. I'm going to do the word family. And that's a little piece of tape there to kind of hold it in position. It's a repositionable tape. I'm using artist tape for that. But washi tape or any kind of low tack tape will absolutely work to hold it in place and not tear up the paper when you lift it up. Then simply add some paint all around it. I'm using a white heavy body paint here because I wanted the white to be a nice contrast to the blue. And I'm also using the heavy body or the thicker paint so that it's easier for me to stencil and get a crisp line. See, I'm very impatient. And by using a thicker paint, it makes it easier for me to get those crisp lines. And of course, if you really want crisp lines and you want to be sure that that's going to happen, do what I say, not what I do. Notice how I'm using the sponge side to side? Not the best choice if you want crisp lines. You want to go in more of an up and down motion. And then the other thing is to use as small of amount of paint as you can, because less paint means there's less chance it's going to run underneath. So the way I've stenciled it so far means I'm going to have the main word and then just little hints of the other words around it. And you can absolutely leave it just like this. Or you can isolate the word of your choosing even more. All I'm doing is taking that cosmetic sponge and I'm sponging around the word family. Using a cosmetic sponge to do this gives me a straight line or an edge, so it makes it easy to just go along those lines. The other thing that I really like about doing this is you can see there are some of the ghosts of the words that I'm covering up. So it's not just this solid layer of white on there. I'm purposely doing it a little bit lighter so that you can see the hints of those words that were underneath it. This is one of the reasons why I love stenciling, is because there's so much flexibility for each of us to do it in the way that we want. So I like having those little hints of the other words there, but maybe you don't. Maybe you want to cover that up, so you're going to use a little bit thicker layer of paint. That's the great part. We each have the freedom to do it in the way that we want. So now that you know the process for how this works, let me show you with another word on a different print. Now this print has very distinct colors on it, some blues and greens and some pinks, and I'm choosing a word that's going to straddle both of those. So it's going to be like the word is sort of shifting colors as it goes across. As I was creating these stencils, I actually did the house stencils first. Those were all done and I knew I wanted to put some words with it because I love using words in the play. But I realized, what words do I want to put? I mean, do I want to do words related to houses or art? And then I realized this is the thing that builds the art house. Where we've come from, the people that came before us, the connections that we have to people right now. And that's why I chose these words to go with the art houses. Now, if you're already a member of Stencil Club, you know what's going to happen on the 15th of the month. These two 9x12 stencils are heading in the mail on its way to you. And you'll also get the exclusive members only video provided by the designer of the month. That's me this month. And I've got a video about gel printing for you in there. There's also a downloadable PDF with the basic instructions to go along with that video. And there's more stuff included in Stencil Club. You can find out all the details over at stencilgirlproducts.com. Once the white paint is dry, then I simply cut them out. And as you can tell, I like to do this. I did a whole bunch of them. So now I've got some pre-cut words, but what can I do with them? Let me show you two quick things. I made a little pocket on this tag using the word love. I simply stitched it on there, and now I'm going to do a little something more to the word because I want to get a little bit of a black outline around it, and I'm going to show you two ways that you can do it. One is by putting the stencil back right on top of it and very carefully tracing right around the edge of the stencil. And what that will do is give you a very precise, very crisp line. Now, this is something that takes a phenomenal amount of concentration for me because usually I like to do things so loosely, but to do it this carefully, it's really a slow process for me. So that's why I have sped up the camera here because wow, it felt like it was taking me forever to do this. And I know it's like all of a minute, but it felt like forever. Now what I'm going to do is close any of the gaps that are there. And those gaps were because the letters on love were touching letters on another word. So I'm just closing up those little areas. So this is a very neat and tidy look. I am amazed by how different pens can feel in the hand. Like this one with that fine tip is fantastic for this precision work. But when I realized I wanted a little bit looser look to this, I was going to need to get a different pen because when I tried to do that loose, sketchy edges to this pen just didn't feel right for it. So I'm going to grab a fountain pen to do that so I can get those loose, sketchy looks to all these letters. So now what I'm doing is just simply going around a lot of the edges here a couple of times very loosely, very imperfectly, intentionally not trying to get it lined up perfectly because I want that loose look to it. Now before I add a little bit more to this tag, I'm going to add a touch of journaling up here. And don't worry if you can't read it, neither can I. I'm just getting some thoughts out. So now let's get something into that pocket. I've got some houses here that I made using the masks from the Art House collection. I've done them on fabric and then I did some free motion stitching around them. And I'm just going to tuck those three right there into the pocket. Oh, and by the way, did you notice the little houses at the bottom of the tag? That's something I'd stenciled on there earlier. That pattern is also included in the Art House collection. This is one way that I use these words. Another way is to make a quick card. And I mean a really quick card. All I did was take one of the words and then I stitched it onto the card and it is done. Now, not only do you have the words directly, you also have parts of words. So if you cut blessings up, you can have sings, or you can have the word bless. It's amazing how many words are actually hidden inside of other words. Thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And of course, if you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I've got a new one out. And of course, if you'd like to know more about Stencil Club and the Art House collection, head on over to StencilGirlProducts.com. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.